So, Kundalini and chakra comes from the philosophy of Tantra. Or you could say the yoga of Tantra. And as you know, our definition of yoga is not asana or stretches or exercise. Our definition of yoga is science of self-transformation. So, Tantra as a school of philosophy is also a science of self-transformation. Tantra comes from two words etymologically, if you have to understand. Tantra comes from two words, Tana and Tra. These are short forms of, these are root words of bigger words called Tanoti and Trayati. Tanoti means expansion and Trayati means liberation. So, Tantra is Tan plus Tra, Tanoti and Trayati, where Tanoti means expansion and Trayati means liberation. So, the path of Tantra believes in expanding your consciousness and ultimately releasing yourself from the bondage of repeated births. One thing we have to understand about Tantra is that Tantra is a philosophy of acceptance. Philosophy of acceptance. Many a times, the other philosophies of yoga, like Vedanta or Samkhya, may not be accepting of our limited nature. Many a times, some other philosophies of yoga may not be accepting in nature. What does this mean? It means, I told you a few days ago that there are some philosophies or some orientations in yoga which disregard the body, which say a body is just a vehicle, forget it. Look at the mind transformation aspect, look at the soul. Tantra doesn't say that. Tantra says that body is as much a part of you, the body is as much a part of the divine as your mind or your soul. So, Tantra will ask you to accept your limited nature and transform it, not beat yourself about it. This is an important aspect of Tantra. Tantra asks you to accept your limited nature, but also transform it, not just accept it and live with it. An example of this. a person who follows the philosophy of Tantra will accept the fact that once in a while he likes to drink a glass of wine. But the person who follows the philosophy of Tantra also knows the fact that he likes wine and it should be once in a while only. Just because he likes wine doesn't mean he guzzles down a bottle of wine every night. What does that mean? That means the person who follows a philosophy of Tantra accepts that there are still some desires that need to be overcome, accepts that there are still some desires that need to be overcome, and works on overcoming those desires with dedication and faith. A Tantra person would not obsess himself about giving up wine, giving up wine, giving up wine, even though he likes it once in a while. Is this understood?
It's similar to what you were saying about the Hatha yogis.
Yes.
Moderation, moderation.
Yes, very good. That is why Hatha Yoga is a part of Tantra. The bigger philosophy of Hatha Yoga is inspired primarily from the philosophy of Tantra. Hatha Yoga is inspired by Tantra. The whole aspect of Hatha Yoga of accepting the body and transforming the body is firmly rooted in the philosophy of Tantra. Acceptance of body is firmly rooted in the philosophy of Tantra. For example, some Upanishads, which are not primarily the books of Tantra, will sometimes tell you that, hey, forget the body. Body is not important. But Tantra will never say body is not important. Tantra will say, yes, you have a body. The body is given to you for a purpose. Realize the purpose of the body. Realize the temporary nature of the body. And overcome that temporary nature by becoming immortal being. Okay? Another point of Tantra is that Tantra is majorly a philosophy that works with subtle energies. Tantra is a philosophy that works primarily with subtle energies. Means subtle body. Now, what are the aspects of subtle energy that you know of as yet? Prana, correct. Nadis. That's why Tantra will always mention prana and nadis. That's why I told you the other day that Hatha Yoga scriptures do not talk about muscles and bones. Not at all. Perhaps very, very rarely. And that's where we have to understand the major difference between modern yoga and traditional yoga. Traditional yoga is based in subtle body. Modern yoga is based in gross body. The basis of modern yoga is physical body. The basis of traditional yoga is subtle body. But to move the subtle body, we have to move the gross body. That's why when you look at it superficially, the asanas come across as movement of the gross body, but actually it is the movement of the subtle body. It's like a balloon. You have an air balloon with you. Have you seen those people who do puppets of air, the balloons? If they want, what is the main idea is to shape the air inside. So they have to move the rubber balloons. It's exactly like that. But since not many have knowledge of subtle mechanics anymore in modern times, it has been told us that yoga is about physical movements. If people knew about the subtle mechanics, it would not be sold to us as muscle flexibility. Okay, and that's why before we begin understanding of Kundalini and chakras, we have to understand that it is all happening in the subtle body.